In a scathing marathon diatribe now reverberating across global talk show circuits, the outspoken aristocrat and royal biographer Lady Colin Campbell has delivered a full-throated evisceration of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's recent touted Mercy tour across Nigeria as little more than a neo-colonial farce. Dubbing their 10-day pseudo-humanitarian swing an imperialist obscenity, leaving mass human wreckage across West Africa in its wake, the acerbic Lady C's vitriolic assessment focused particular venom on Meghan and Harry's strategic decision to exclude children Lilibet and Archie from accompanying their highly publicized Commonwealth outreach initiative. One can only theorize the sheer levels of sociopathic narcissism and compartmentalized delusion compelling these two excrements of notional philanthropists to descend across impoverished Nigerian villages spouting lofty indigent community uplift while simultaneously depriving their own offspring any authentic cross-cultural bonding rituals with the very Commonwealth populations whose desperate plight they so cynically commodify for Hollywood profits and virtue signals, Lady Campbell huffed. In her trademark staccato cadences during an appearance on the BBC's reality series, Keeping Up with the Cambridges, earlier this week. To traipse aimlessly brandishing Klieg-lighted Kodak moments on sponsored Nigerian relief village junkets whilst concurrently rendering one's own children as isolated, entitled afterthoughts is not just the height of bourgeois hypocrisy, but deeply insidious neo-colonial exploitation of Africa's tragedies for selfish gain. The calculated exclusion of young Lilibet and Archie's humanizing presences from this vaudevillian circus parade ranks among the most grotesquely tone-deaf demonstrations of detached white privilege witnessed since Live Aid. Lady Colin Campbell's contretemps also alleged that the Sussexes dubiously staged social media spectacles disseminated while jet-setting between NGO compounds in fact inflicted measurable unrest and provoked several violent clashes involving Nigerian civilians conscripted as crisis actors for their publicity photo ops. Citing independently crowdsourced social media posts as well as accounts corroborated through her own intelligence channels across the region, her ladyship alleges scenes such as Meghan gamely embracing makeshift orphanage residents in Jos actually involved the Royal Protection Squad tear-gassing and battening disruptive crowds lingering near the cinematically framed tableaus. Video repositories gathered by everyday Nigerian whistleblowers tell a far more sinister narrative countering the couple's idyllic portraits of comforting the destitute than the sanitized propaganda Sunshine Sachs has disseminated, Lady C added, referencing the public relations behemoth bankrolling the Sussexes' embattled, Archwell, multimedia franchise. From crowdsourced audio transcriptions alone, we catch the Duchess's personal security retinue audibly grunting aggressively, "Get those vermin out of the frames and sequestered," as pleading locals are assaulted behind camera by British contractors, while Meghan pouts pensively providing heartstring-tugging reaction shots like the consummate theatrical pro that she fancies herself. At no point did any real humanitarian initiative take place without directly exploiting human suffering as mere stage props across every photo documentation. One particularly harrowing piece of CCTV footage appears to corroborate several eyewitness claims that a Nigerian teenager suffered a fatal gunshot wound to the abdomen after having questioned why his family's riverside fishing environs were being aggressively tear-gassed and bombarded by smoke canisters from the Sussexes' cavalcade. After the youth's body was swiftly removed from camera range, Meghan is allegedly overheard demanding to get some orphans hurried in now from the displaced townships so Harry and I may properly center the narrative again. While the Duke and Duchess media juggernaut has strived to swiftly dismiss any critical counternarratives as racist, hate posting, while their promotional Nigerian outreach campaign dominates global coverage cycles, veteran provocateur Lady Colin Campbell remains undeterred. The well-connected aristocrat has continued to air further allegations the Sussexes directly profiteered through bespoke foreign aid diverted for their own promotional publicity partnerships with corporations like Disney and Apple. The ultimate demonstration of Meghan and Harry's craven cynicism surrounding this overblown Nigerian escapade occurred when entire humanitarian village compounds were bussed into remote provincial locales and lavished with brand new modernist infrastructure and Western amenities just days before their so-called surprise relief appearances, Lady C claims. All filmed under corporate sponsors' expense in order to create visually dramatic before and after narrative comparisons for their Netflix programs and photo essays. Some of the most damning evidence the biographer alleges involves a region along the Benue River now virtually depopulated after entire indigenous communities were permanently displaced and razed to the ground in order to accommodate grander backdrops simulating triumphant villages, rising from poverty, for the camera. According to Lady Campbell, several local tribal chieftains caught glimpses of architectural mock-ups bearing Disney's iconic castle insignias while their ancestral settlements were demolished. The most haunting visual I tracked originates from drone footage where you see crude humanitarian tents emblazoned with Heifer International and UNICEF logos being dismantled and hustled away after the Mercedes-Benz Sundance cameras had finally packed up the Nigerian shoots as well, her ladyship lamented. At the end of the road you see empty bulldozed flats where those shanties full of now-displaced refugee families were originally situated prior to the royal couple's publicity juggernaut rolling through that Benue province. Nothing but rubble is left afterward, save the smoldering seeds of more radicalization and extremism their imperialist horror show planted along its path. Across the widening ideological fissures polarizing global reactions to Meghan and Harry's controversial Nigerian tour, independent humanitarian watchdogs remain similarly outraged over the couple's decision to exclude their own children Lilibet and Archie from accompanying the expedition marketed as a cultural immersion into West Africa's poorest enclaves. Even more so than Lady Campbell's damning allegations of fraud and manipulation, the glaring absence of the two royal scion toddlers provided arguably the most viscerally discordant optics undermining any purportedly altruistic motives the Duke and Duchess had strived to project across Nigeria. The stark contrast between two privileged, ultra-wealthy Western adolescents cosset in opulent California splendor while their parents leveraged poverty tourism and waved African children as props before mass media during a staged Salvation missionary was utterly dystopian and evoked no benign interpretations, stated Amnesty International's West African Bureau Chief Ganiyu Adesina while expressing disappointment over the couple's tragically missed opportunity toward promoting any authentic cross-cultural solidarity. We'd hoped Meghan and Harry grasped that traveling thousands of miles to partner with impoverished Commonwealth children in their own lived environments could at least cultivate new binds of empathy and understanding for their own offspring to appreciate back in Los Angeles. Instead, their exclusionary conduct proved just as dehuman.